That movie is a shit show. What you think you see, what you think you hear, that's what it's about. It's all theater of the mind. No, it's garbage. It's garbage. Mood and atmosphere. Now that I really like. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Monday, August the 29th, 2022, and it is 2:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I thought I would jump on today, right now, finally have a moment to jump on again. I think it's been about, well, there was the New Nightmare watch along with Cecil and Miko last Wednesday. But I think it's been over a week since I've been able to kind of just touch base with you guys. It was busy. I had 2 weddings to go to this past weekend. Bruce got married. My buddy Bruce, my best friend of 30 years. Shout out to Bruce and his lovely wife, Shanae, and their beautiful children, of course, Mateo, Desmond, Ciela, and Leah. Congratulations to all of them. The wedding was on Saturday. And the rehearsal was, last week, and then the wedding. And of course, being a big part of the wedding, I was heavily involved, and that took up a lot of time. But it was a great night. It was a great night. It was a lot of fun, great dancing, great music, great dinner, great friends, great, whatever. There it all is, right? It was a lot of fun. So congratulations to Bruce and Shanae for tying the knot on Saturday. So things are starting to my busy month of August is starting to kind of wind down a little bit, which is great. So tonight, of course, every Monday night, I've had some people, just in case you're unaware, Two Dudes and Some Bullshit is always Monday night at 6:00 p.m. I have had some people fairly recently, maybe your new subscribers, asking when the next episode will be, or whatever the case is. It's always Monday night, 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless there's a specific reason why we have to move it. Maybe we have to have it the night before or the night after for some reason, or we have to cancel it altogether and push it to the next week, which is the case today. So Tony's got some stuff going on, and he can't do the show tonight. So we decided to push the show to next Monday at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to jump on this afternoon and kind of, have a Q&A and catch up with you guys and see what you guys are doing. I know there was some, lots of stuff going on and things dropping and people going crazy and having conniption fits and losing their minds. So why not jump on and hang out with you guys for a little bit and talk about it? Let me just quickly get these few super chats that already came in. Chad Zorn sends in $9.99. Thank you, Chad. Says, what were some of the other Halloween anthology ideas? I heard they had a few, and a ghost story was one. I hope the next Halloween movie is a sequel to Halloween 3 or a Netflix series. Great show, Dave. Well, thank you, Chad. I'm not entirely sure. I have not read those 2 Taking Shape books. I do not have them. I do not possess them. I have not read them. There's a lot of things that wound up in that book that a lot of fans already know, that have kind of already been out there. And then there's a lot of stuff that wound up in those books that we didn't know because they were very sort of, deep cut stuff that you would only get if you actually talked to this, the person in question and you had an opportunity to speak with them, one-on-one and kind of that kind of thing, right? Which a lot of Taking Shape has, a lot of juicy, some stuff's anecdotal, but a lot of juicy stuff in there, which is really good. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe the chat room knows. in terms of anthology ideas beyond what they did with Season of the Witch, I might know, but I think I need a refresher. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but maybe the chat room can jump in and fill in those gaps. And I am all for that. I like Halloween 3. I don't love Halloween 3, so I could not care less if they did a sequel or a complete remake. I'm not so emotionally attached to Halloween 3 that I would be upset if they pretended like it never happened and they just redid it. I couldn't care less. But I do think Halloween 3, because it already has a built-in fan base, because it's already in the Halloween horror zeitgeist, I think it is a logical step. It is a side step to probably approach that as an anthology route. And I've been saying this for a couple of years now. And Christopher Nelson recently on The Thing with Two Heads said it himself. So I'm in good company here because I've been saying this, like I said, and you know this, if you followed me for any length of time, I've been saying this, that yes, if this was 40 years ago to do this, but now the word anthology, I mean, it's existed for a very long time, but the general public now, the movie-going audience, we're familiar with the idea of what anthology is, what it means. Doesn't mean it's going to be successful or good, but we know creatively what this is all about and where we're going and how it can take place in the same universe, but it also doesn't have to take place in the same universe, but it's other kind of stories. And 40 years ago, when Halloween 3 Season of the Witch came out, nobody knew what this was. It wasn't in the horror pop culture movie-going zeitgeist like it is today. We've had many anthology films, some successful, some not so successful, but the idea of doing that, the idea of making the creative choice to go and do something like that, I think would be more well-received today than certainly it was 40 years ago. So it makes sense. It makes sense to do that, and it makes sense to start because it's low risk, not completely low risk, but it's lower risk because you're starting with something that's already in the pop culture. So I think rather than something that nobody's ever heard of. So I think that if they do go that route, they would likely start with Season of the Witch. Why not? Whether that's a sequel or a reboot or a remake, who knows? I have no idea. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Let me get the other one here. Chris Parrish sends in $1.99 and says, when raising money for a fan film, does all of the money go to production equipment or do the actors and crew get paid as well? Also, where is The Night He Came Back? Tried finding it the other day. Okay, so The Night He Came Back, which is the Halloween fan film I did about 6 years ago now, I think it was, 7 years ago. It's not available at the moment because the audio is out of sync. And I don't know why it happened. It's happened on a couple of episodes of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Don't know why, but it's out of sync. And it's not just a little bit out of sync. It's like 35, 40 seconds out of sync. So it's unwatchable. It's just, you just can't watch it. You know, it's not like it's like a second out of sync and you could bear through it and pretend that it's just a bad dub job or something. No, it's like completely out of sync. Like we're talking like you're watching something and the audio is from a scene like 3 scenes behind or something like that. So I just didn't feel comfortable with having it up there. So I essentially made it unavailable. So that's what it is. And it's not that like I myself as a filmmaker, I've grown a lot since then. And that is not a movie that I would include in my portfolio to showcase. It's Me, Billy is obviously because It's Me, Billy is at the, quite a few notches above that in terms of production value and execution and all that kind of stuff. So, really, there's no comparison. The Night He Came Back is clearly a fan film, friends hanging out, making a movie, whereas It's Me, Billy is, a movie. So It's Me, Billy is really sort of where I want the focus to be in terms of, that kind of stuff. But maybe maybe in the future I'll re-upload it with the audio and sync it at some point. I'm not sure, but that's where it went. And in terms of raising money for a fan film, well, you can put the money wherever it needs to go. It would all depend on, what level you're working at, right? So if you are just making a movie with your friends and you can get everybody on board to volunteer their time, and because they're people you know, or they're students and they're in film school and they're looking for experience or whatever the case is, then you may, let's say you raise $25,000. Well, then you might be able to take that $25,000 and put it all towards camera gear. Or you might be able to take that $25,000 and put it towards a lighting and grip package, with camera gear. But you don't have to pay your actors and you don't have to pay your crew. Why? Because everybody's volunteer, because they're your friends or they're student filmmakers looking for experience or whatever the case is. For Billy, everything went everywhere. Like, we had to pay the actors, we had to pay the crew, we had to, we had production insurance, we had catering, we had to, factor in the location. I mean, to just rent the house for a week was about $10,000. So, you have to factor that in. I mean, this was a professional, low budget, independent film. So everybody that worked on Billy were professionals working in Canada's film industry. So, we had to, that's what but that was our choice. We wanted to take it to that level and deliver on something of real quality. But it all depends, right? There's not a right or a wrong answer. If you're looking to hire professionals, you have to pay professionals, right? Unless you know somebody who's your best friend, like, don't worry, I'll do it. No problem, I'll do it. But if you want to hire professionals, you have to pay them. That is how it works. If you have your friends and people just, whatever, well, then maybe you can convince your friends to do it for free. I have no idea. But where you allocate the money all depends on sort of the level you're working at. But there's a lot of things that you have to think about when you're raising funds. And when you are looking to raise money for any film, whether it's a fan film or whether it's a original piece that's a low budget film or whatever the case is, you have to do your due diligence during the development process and when you're breaking down the budget, because you need to know within the ballpark of what you need. You don't just say, I think we're going to need $50,000. No, you need to know, because you're either going to be, because you don't want to be way over. And of course, it's always nicer to be way over, but you don't want to be way under, right? So you don't just come up with some arbitrary number and just go, I think we're going to need that. When we asked for $60,000, it's because we knew when we broke down locations, production, catering, cast, crew, equipment rentals, truck rentals, the whole thing, the whole shebang, we knew that this is what we were going to need within that ballpark. And Bruce and I, we didn't get paid. We didn't pay ourselves. We made zero. Everything went into the production. So yeah. So it depends on the level you're working at, and it depends on who you're working with. If you have friends and family that are willing to do it for free, well, there you go. But if you're looking to make a real movie with professionals working in the industry, yeah, people got to get paid. You know what I mean? It's the way it works. Jesus Freak Bobby Reeves sends in $1.99, says, for all my McRae freaks out there. I love it. McRae. Sounds like kind of like Cajun chicken, but not. I don't know. McRae chicken. McRae chicken. Can you imagine? Thank you, Bobby. George Stegall sends in $20. Thank you, George, and says, hi, Dave. Hope you are well. Can I get a But Dave in the voice of Loomis from Halloween 5? Have a great day, Dave. But Dave! But Dave! There you go. Completely hammered. Thanks, George. Appreciate the super chat. Bradley Oren? Is that how you say that, Bradley? Sends in $5. Thank you, Bradley. He says, Dave, do you like the 80s slasher film Final Exam? I actually have never seen it. I know the one you're talking about, though. It's a favorite of mine and really uses theater of the mind. Well, in my opinion, anyway. That's a movie I've not seen. But I know the movie you're talking about, Final Exam. I can see the poster in my head. But I have not seen it. So, I don't know if I like it or not. I'll have to check it out. Lou, I think is L-U, just Lou. I think it's Lou, right? $4.99 says, happy Monday, Dave. Happy Monday to you as well. What is your favorite TV show and how excited are you for Halloween Ends merch by Fright Rags? Thanks and have a good week. What's my favorite TV show, like right now or of all time? Well, let me break it down for you like this. I'm not a big TV person. So what I mean by that is that a lot of the current shows that are hot and everybody's talking about, I either have no interest in or I'm just don't watch. Like I've never seen an episode of Breaking Bad, never seen Better Call Saul, never seen, I don't know, like all the big shows out there. I don't know. Game of Thrones. I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, never seen an episode of Supernatural. And again, it's not because I think I'm not going to like it. It's just because there's not already a built-in interest for it for whatever reason, like how there's some shows out there that might be popular that you just haven't watched. It's not necessarily because you think you're not going to like it. It's just because you just don't have enough interest already built in to make the time and effort to watch it. Like another one, I've never seen an episode of The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? It's not because I don't think if I actually sat my ass down and watched it that I would enjoy it. I probably would. But I don't have an interest enough already to force myself to make time for it. So there's not a lot of current stuff that I although I really did like House of Cards. But then, of course, the shit happened with Kevin Spacey and he wasn't in the final season, and the final season's okay, but it's, yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not nearly as good without him. But I did like that show. Obviously big fan of Stranger Things, but that kind of goes without saying. I mean, I'm an 80s boy, right? You know, as a young boy growing up through the 80s. So I can relate to that, and I love the nostalgia and the science fiction, the horror and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that. Really enjoying Murders in the Building right now with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez. My girlfriend and I watched that. We really like that. We have to watch the last 2 episodes of season 2. And what else? Anything that Ricky Gervais does, absolutely love his Derek. I thought that was great. Although the first season was better than the second season. Afterlife I thought was great. You know, I'm kind of just all over. I'm not really into the, I don't know. Like there's I really like Manifest, as ridiculous as it is. I thought that was kind of fun. There's another show on there too on Netflix called Into the Night. I think it's a French show or something, but it's dubbed in English, or you can watch it dubbed in English, which I quite enjoyed. But anyway, those are some kind of current shows, but I'm not watching a lot. And old school shows, I mean, you know, Three's Company, Alf, Three's Company, Alf, you know, I mean, go back, Cheers, you know, Frasier, The King of Queens. Those are some sitcoms I absolutely love. The Golden Girls. I adore The Golden Girls. I think they're hilarious. Knight Rider, you know, Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, Jesus, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Oh, and Fright Rags, Halloween Fright Rags merch. Yeah, like this is a Fright Rags shirt here, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's what, I think it's Fright Rags anyway. Yeah, I mean, I probably won't rush out to buy any, but you know, if I saw it in a store or something like that, or if they had a booth at a convention, yeah, for sure. I think this is Fright Rags. I got to look at the tag. I might have got this actually. I think it is, because I think I got this at the 40th convention, I think. All right. I just want to make sure I'm not missing these. I think okay, no, that was one that came in there. David Lee Barron sends in 1999. Thank you, David. Says, Dear Dr. Pichet, thoughts on the Blackmagic camera? In my opinion, I'm not a fan, even though it's supposed to be a cinema camera. The Sony cameras have given me a more cinematic image than anything the Blackmagic has ever done. Well, I've not worked on the Blackmagic cinema cameras before. I hear they're great. Obviously, if you were to purchase them, I think they just come with the body, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like you actually have to buy lenses with them, I think. But I am not familiar. I'm familiar with what it is, but I've never used it myself. So I don't really know how to answer that question. I don't know. I mean, I take your word for it that that's the experience you had with it and that you kind of find that the Sony cameras are better. Sure, that could entirely be possible. I haven't used either. So, you know, when I when I used to shoot, you know, anything like where I was just fucking around doing Michael Myers stuff, I always just shot on my Canon DSLR. Billy was shot on the Arri Mini. And that's really sort of my level in terms from a camera perspective. At the professional level, I haven't used anything other than the Arri, and I wasn't the DP on it. So I did learn a lot, and for sure. But I'm not a cinematographer, so just off the top of my head, I don't know. I haven't used it. It's supposed to be great. The dynamic range is really solid on it. And depending on which version you get, because I think there's several different versions, if I'm not mistaken, right? There's a couple of them, I think. I mean, there are some films that are shot on it and look really good, you know? Sometimes, I mean, look, you can have the best stuff. You can have a DSLR, you know, not a full frame DSLR either. And if you know how to craft your shots and craft your lighting, you can make it look really good. Now, I mean, it's not going to look like, you know, Billy or, you know, I even think the Never Hike Alone films, I think Never Hike in the Snow shot on the Red Epic, if I'm not mistaken. You know, depending on how because it doesn't have the same dynamic range, right? But if you know what you're doing and you know how to light and you understand depth of field and lighting and you know, you can make it look really good. So sometimes it's just a matter of sort of finessing and getting used to the camera that you're working with, because each camera is a bit different, depending on the lenses you're using as well. So, but I have no direct experience with the Blackmagic cinema cameras. So, I'm not sure. I'd have to talk to Greg, you know, really, and ask him. I saw him at Bruce's wedding the other day, but I'll have to ask him what his thoughts are, because he's shot on everything. I mean, he's, you know, so he would know. He's a guy who would know. So the next time I speak to him, if I think of it, I'll bring it up. Kevin L sends in $4.99, says, what movie universe would you want to live in for 24 hours? 24 hours movie universe? Star Wars. That'd be epic. Star Wars? Fly around and stuff? That'd be really cool. I think that'd be really cool. Simon Mills sends in £5. It says, hey, Dave, did you ever see the fan film Ultimate Evil based on Michael Myers, done in a crime documentary based on all the films? Hope you're okay, bud. I am. I'm doing well. Thanks, Simon. I have not seen it. I'm aware of it. I know about it, but I just haven't taken the time to sit down and watch it. Jesus Freak Bobby Reeves, $1.99, says, sorry, Dave, I meant McRagen? Like raging fans. Oh, yeah, no, I know. No, I know. I know that's what you meant. I know that's what you meant. I know. I would just add my own spin to it. Happy Sanjo sends in $5 and says, thoughts on Insidious 5 coming out, and does Patrick Wilson directing make you intrigued or optimistic? I don't know. You know, the longer that horror franchises go on, the more tired they get. That's just, the more any franchise goes on, the tired it gets. I mean, I'm sure there are some Marvel fans out there you could ask, and they'd be like, yeah, you know, we're like 27 movies in, and I'm a little tired. But then there are fans that just don't give a fuck, and they just will eat up anything and everything because their standards are so low. But Dave, but I would say that, like, I really liked the first Insidious, and I thought 2 was okay. I kind of felt about Insidious 2 like I do The Conjuring 2. And both of them were directed also by Juan, right? Or were also directed by Juan. So it's competently made, not quite as good as the first, but solid. I actually liked Insidious 3 a lot. Not as much as the first 2, but I thought it was, I was relieved. And I was like, wow, this is better than it should have been. And then I realized, oh, it was directed by Lee Winnell, who was James Wan's right-hand man for, a lot of these films, right? Through Saw, Insidious. I don't know if he had a hand in The Conjuring or not, but certainly he was also in the Insidious movies as one of the ghost hunting guys, right? It kind of looked like a Mormon with the white shirt and the black tie. He directed The Invisible Man and Upgrade, and he's a very competent, at least he's showing to be a very competent horror director and writer. So Insidious Chapter 3 was probably way better than it had any right being, because it was the third part, and it was I think it was also like a prequel to the two. Anyways, but it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. The fourth one I never saw. I never saw the fourth one, The Lost Key or something key or whatever. Because I just saw the trailer and I thought, it just seems tired. It just seems tired. So now we have a fifth one. And I assume Patrick Wilson is also in it. Is this his directorial debut? I don't know. Has he directed anything, like even a short film or whatever? I really don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm indifferent to it until I see a trailer, I guess. I'm not excited about it, but I'm not excited about it. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Could be interesting. WDRD Channel 13, WDRD Channel 13 sends in $2 and says, huge fan, love your content, trick or treat, motherfucker, trick or treat, motherfucker. Thank you very much, WDRD Channel 13. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Aaron Click says, Dave, how was Bruce's wedding? Hopefully fairly short and sweet with a fun wedding reception afterwards. It was great. It was great. A lot of fun. There were some people there that I hadn't seen since high school 20 years ago. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. I would say that it went off without a hitch. Like there were no issues, everybody showed up on time. The dinner was served on time. All the microphones worked, and the in-house PA system sort of worked for, the speeches and the MC and the music worked. The DJ was really good, and everybody was having a great time. Nobody got hurt. There was no big idiot drunk dude that you had to toss out. Mind you, it was also a more smaller, intimate wedding of about maybe 65, 70 people. So it's not like it was a, massive wedding or anything, but it was really nice. Really nice. Really nice. Thanks for asking. I had a really good time, and I know they did too. And I'm sure right now, because when you're building up to a wedding, all the stuff you have to do and the things you have to book and the things you have to get ready, and I have no doubt that at this very moment they are breathing a sigh of relief that it's over. You know what I mean? It's like, now we can relax. We're married now. And, because there's a lot of things you got to think about when you're getting married. All the things you got to book, and photographers and DJs and jewelers. And, I can only imagine. Intense. Absolutely intense. Wait, did one come in? No, I got that. Oh, I see. It because okay, right. No, it just finally disappeared. Evil Alex says, "Hey Dave, how was the weekend? It was good. Did you watch any new films? I'm excited for Halloween Ends and Avatar 2. Both I don't know a lot about. Really interested what both are about story-wise and how they play out." Well, thanks, Evil. Yeah, no, my weekend was pretty swamped with Bruce's wedding. Swamped in a good way, very exciting. Obviously, there was the rehearsal, reception, get-togethers, dinners, lunches, the wedding. It was a big thing. That's why I haven't been around the last few days, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Had a really good time. So I didn't watch any movies this weekend. Just didn't have time. And then yesterday, Sunday, was kind of a day where I was tired, because like I said, I was up till about 3 or 4 in the morning. Because I was helping take things down after the wedding was done and everything. So I was just kind of resting. So didn't have a chance to watch anything. Let me see here. Got that. Guitarist Dog 87 says, Dave, thanks to you and Tony, Friday the 13th Part 5 has climbed higher up in my ranking. I have gained a new appreciation for it. Well, that's really cool, man. Yeah, I don't mind 5. I mean, it's not one of my... The Friday the 13th franchise, I'm very much like I usually like them in the order that they were released, really. I know that part one is not really anybody's favorite, really. But I generally speaking, I think when it comes to the Friday the 13th franchise, I just like them in the order that they were released. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know 6 is a fan favorite and 6 is sometimes people's favorites or, their second favorite or whatever. I get that. And the Elm Street franchise is kind of the same for me. I like the first one the best. I like the second one next. I like the third one and then 4 and then, 5, 6. Like if I was to rank them, it would probably, for me, go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like 6 is clearly the worst. 5 is clearly the next worst, followed by 4. And then, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird that way. Whereas Halloween, I think it's because of the different timelines. But yeah, no, I like 5. It's probably not one I would watch. I think Tony likes it a lot more than I do. But I don't dislike it. Like I certainly like it. But if I was to have like a Friday the 13th marathon or something, for me, it would be like absolutely at least the first 4 films. For sure. David Lee Barron sends in another $19.99. Thank you, David. Really appreciate that. And says, Dear Dr. Pichet, is it just me or was the first act of Elvis very ADD and like a colorful fireworks show? Did this bother you? I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something more along the style of Walk the Line. Well, David, you have to remember who the director is. It's Baz Luhrmann. The director of Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby. I think he even did Australia, if I'm not mistaken. And I think wasn't Baz the one that did Romeo and Juliet in '96? Wasn't that Baz Luhrmann? I think it was Romeo and Juliet. I think that was Luhrmann, right? Yeah, that was Baz Luhrmann as well. And that was a very, sort of unorthodox take on the story. So Baz has a reputation for being a little ADD, like that, being glitz, glam, high energy, high presentation. But ironically, I found it worked really well for this movie and this story because it's Elvis Presley, right? It is, the king of rock and roll. It is arguably the greatest entertainer of the 20th century. He changed a lot of shit. We can get into where it came from and his inspiration and all that, for sure. But Elvis was, you've heard me talk about him on the channel before. It changed a lot of stuff when he came along. A lot of stuff. Changed pop culture, music. So if you're going to, apply Baz's style to any story, Elvis is certainly one that you would probably... Now, could you do an Elvis biopic that is more, a little more reserved, a little more drama, like a kind of intense, more of a slower burn drama biopic? Sure, you absolutely could do that. But Baz took the approach to kind of tell the story of Elvis from that Elvis high octane energy perspective, and that's why you get that. But it didn't bother me. No, I guess it's because I knew kind of what to expect, and I was expecting that, so it didn't really bother me when I saw it. I was like, yeah, this is Baz Luhrmann. This is what I expected. So no, it didn't bother me. Walk the Line's another great one though. Red Foreman sends in $5. Says, "Hey Dave, what 1980s horror movie would you like to see rebooted?" Ooh. I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of The Burning. The problem with that is that it's very Friday the 13th. In a lot of ways. There's a lot of, there are a lot of those cheap, early, low budget 80s slasher movies were Friday the 13th ripoffs. For all intents and purposes, Friday the 13th essentially ripped off Halloween. Not exactly, because obviously it's two different settings, but the idea about a killer killing teenagers and all that kind of stuff. But there were a lot of early 80s slasher movies where you had people going into the woods or camping or whatever, and then some freaky killer comes along and kills him. There's a lot of that shit, and The Burning was one. I know Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast loves The Burning. I can't say I love The Burning, but it's certainly probably one of the better early 80s B-movie slasher movies that isn't one of the big three: Friday, Halloween, Elm Street. It's one that probably is pretty, it's not bad. I find it a little long, but there's some good stuff in there. And I think the good outweighs the bad. So I think you could take The Burning and revitalize it or reimagine it today into something pretty cool, I think. The problem is it's very Friday the 13th. And I don't think a studio would probably want to take, maybe a streaming service might, here's $2 million, which is, way more than they had for the original. Go out and make a Burning remake, and all of a sudden it pops on Netflix or something. I could see that. But I think a studio would probably want to, because of name recognition, probably want to keep with Friday the 13th. But I think The Burning might be an interesting one. Let me see here. Matthew Farisi sends in $9.99, says, finally got a trailer for Terrifier 2. I'm more intrigued than excited, but it will be interesting to see just for the violent spectacle. I wonder how they will top the Saw scene. Good to see you, Dave. Thanks, Matthew. Good to see you as well. Yeah, I watched the trailer for Terrifier 2, and Terrifier, first of all, let me just say congratulations to the entire team of Terrifier 2. Independent film, crowdfunded. They've been wanting to get this thing out there for a while, but I think they were searching for the right distribution for it. Obviously, because it's an original piece, they can do that. This is not something where they don't own the IP, like when it comes to Billy or Friday the 13th or something like that. So sincerely, congratulations for completing the movie, getting it out there, finding distribution with the help of Bloody Disgusting. It's going to be in some select theaters, which is really cool. That's cool, man. That's really cool. And it looks exactly what you would expect it to look like, right? In terms of a Terrifier film. Now, there's only been one. Well, he's appeared in other films, but Terrifier, right? I watched the first Terrifier a couple years ago, and I liked it. I did. For what it was, I liked it. But it's an acquired taste because definitely it is a lot of gore, a lot of blood, a lot of gratuitous, I won't say violence, but gratuitous gore. It is going to the extreme and pushing the boundaries. That's what Terrifier was. Shock value, right? Shock, right? It's all about shock slasher, right? Especially that scene that we know, the upside down scene. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about Stranger Things, folks. It was like, wow, that's really kind of stuff. It's not my style of horror movie. This is even, going way beyond what like Elm Street ever did, or a lot of those, early 80s kind of horror movies ever did. This is purely shock. And listen, there's an audience for it, right? And people want to see that. But I have to be honest and say it's not my style of horror movie. I can appreciate it on a certain level, and I can certainly appreciate the hustle and how hard these guys worked, to bring this to life and to put it out there. And I think it's awesome. Like sincerely, congratulations. It ain't easy making a movie, man. It ain't. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. But I will definitely watch it for sure. But I hear it's like 2.5 hours long, and I hear it makes like the first Terrifier look like really tame. So clearly there's going to be a lot more. They're pushing the boundaries, and in 2.5 hours there's going to be a lot more blood, a lot more guts, a lot more shock, gratuitous violence, really, at the end of the day, that's what this is. That's the identity of the Terrifier series. So I'm okay with that. but it's generally just not my style of horror. It's not because I get queasy or because I'm like, oh my God. It's just like, it's just not, it doesn't scare me. I'm more of that theater of the mind sort of mood atmosphere kind of thing. But I'm definitely going to watch it because I'm curious, right? I'm curious. I got to see it. You know what I mean? But that's kind of how I feel about Terrifier. And listen, there are some people that don't like what I like, right? I'm more about that mood, atmosphere, suspense, psychological. When you watch Billy, that was one of the things that we really paid attention to. Now, obviously, the original Black Christmas film is all about that mood, atmosphere, and slow burn. But that's, I like that kind of thing, more of that atmospheric, theater of the mind, all that kind of stuff. The shit you've heard me say 1,000 times on here, ad nauseum, I'm sure, to many of you. That's more my style. But I certainly can appreciate what Terrifier is doing on a certain level, but just maybe not as much as the fan that it's targeted towards, who's just going to lose their minds over the shit they're going to see. You know what I mean? So, but sincere congratulations to the entire team, man. It ain't easy, and they've done it. D-Man W sends in $1.99, says, when are you getting married, Dave? Well, myself and my lady are not married. We've been together for 11 years, but that's our choice, right? Think of us like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, right? It's not like she's waiting for me to propose, okay? This is a decision we've both made because neither of us wanted to get married, like how neither of us wanted to have kids. So it's not like she's waiting. Listen, I don't think any woman would wait 11 years if they desperately wanted to get married and it was part of their life goal, right? Right? I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? So for all intents and purposes, we are, from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. So, so that's the situation there. For those of you that may not know, don't worry. She's not hanging on. She's not like, why isn't he marrying me? It has nothing to do with that. She's good. Let me see here. The Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast says, is anyone really excited for Terrifier 2 at 2 hours and 20 minutes? I don't know, man. I mean, I put it out there are you excited? The Terrifier fans out there, the ones that are excited for this, that can't wait to see Art the Clown wreck shit up. Are you excited for 2 hours and 20 minutes of Terrifier? Or are you a little concerned about that, right? Somebody asked me the other day when I made and I might do this again, actually. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to Miko Hughes, who was the first person I saw utilizing this, but on Instagram, and if you're not following me on Instagram, my Instagram link is right there. It's also in the description. What the hell are you waiting for? You can have people send you anonymous messages, right? Via this link. And I was like, I'm going to try that. I was like, at first I was like, oh God, I wonder what I'm going to get. But no, it was all good. And you can choose who to reply to. And I didn't think I was going to get a lot, but I got a lot of people sending me messages, so much so that I couldn't respond to everybody. It was really cool. And some of them were a bit repetitive. But, that was my shoulder. Did you guys hear that? Holy snap and crap. But somebody asked me and said, what's the proper length for a movie? And my answer was essentially, well, it can be any length. It depends on the story. It depends on the pacing. The proper length for a movie is the proper runtime for a film is the runtime that adequately and appropriately tells the story without it feeling too short or too long, and without compromising on the pacing. Really, so if that's 3 hours, that's 3 hours. If that's 75 minutes, that's 75 minutes, right? Now, to Darren's point, a 2 hour and 20 minute slasher movie is not the norm. So that's why it kind of makes everybody's eyebrows kind of go up, like, The Rock, we're all kind of like this, like, what the hell is going on, And it's kind of like, okay. Does that mean that Terrifier is going to suffer in the pacing department? Terrifier 2? Not necessarily. I mean, it might breeze by. Who knows? But yeah, a 2 hour and 20 minute slasher movie is like, wow, that's like, usually that's like Star Wars and Marvel shit, or some epic drama. I mean, I was expecting like 90 minutes, but we're talking like, almost an hour beyond that. I mean, that's I think, right? do I have my math right? Can't do math in my head. But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Red Spader 7? Red Spade Tree 7? Or is that an I? Fuck, where are my glasses? I think I've got it. Red Spade Tier 7. Red Spade Tree 7? Is that how you say it? It's only got one E, though. I don't know. Michael Myers thumbed a guy. Michael Myers thumbed a guy. He did. He was into it. He was totally into it. He was into it. Oh, let me see here. Oh, where'd that go? Oh, wow. More came in than I thought. Gravestone Films sends in $4.99, says, hey, Dave, what are your thoughts on 1980s Prom Night starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Leslie Nielsen? Personally, it's one of my favorite slasher movies. Not a movie I've seen in a while, but I'll tell you this. I liked it better than Terror Train. Anytime I can rib on Terror Train, I think it's such a snooze fest. And it pains me to say that, but it's true. I like Prom Night. Yeah, I thought it was all right, but it's been a minute, as the kids say. Oh, I guess everybody says that now. It's been a microsecond since I've actually seen Prom Night. But big Leslie Nielsen fan, Jamie Lee Curtis, early 80s horror. Yeah, it's good stuff. I should watch that again. Maybe Tony and I should do that. Not sure. Kevin L sends in $1.99, says, oh, I like this. Favorite Clark Griswold moment. Oh, man, there's so many. Oh, there's so many. I like in Vegas Vacation when he shows up at the desk to rent the car or something, and because he had his hand in the toilet on the airplane, and there's that, those like pucks that make the toilet water blue, like it's a dye kind of thing, and it dyed his whole arm, and he's there, and he's like acting like nothing. I think that's really funny. But the first Vacation, I mean, pick anything in the first Vacation. His rant at the very end, his rant at the end of Christmas Vacation. Hallelujah. Holy fucking shit, whatever. Where's the Tylenol? You know that one? That's a great one. I love his, just the fact, I don't know. He's just so, there's so many. When he tried to convince the cop that, Jesus, they're flooding into me right now. There's so many good ones. I like, when he gets pulled over by the bicycle cop and they both have like a moment of tears, or he's faking it because he didn't like Aunt Edna's dog anyway. And then he puts Aunt Edna on the roof and all that. And like, it's just everything, like every moment is really good. There's some, I love the moment in European Vacation, and I'm not a big fan of European Vacation overall, although it has grown on me. I do like when they go to Germany, I think it is. And this would never happen in real life. It's so absurd. Like, how do you spend 24 hours with somebody who literally doesn't speak a word of English? But they're there and they go to the wrong place and they take them in and they're there and they're having dinner with them and everything. And one couple is speaking German and they're speaking English. And then of course they leave at the very end, right? And the little bush moves over to show that they were at the wrong place. And the couple's like, who the fuck was that? I don't fucking know, or whatever. I mean, just everything. It's just so good. It's so good. It's so funny. But yeah, those are some. I mean, just there's too many. There's too many, Kevin. There's too many, but those are some there. Those are a few there. I just love it. I love those movies. They're so good. Tabitha Short says, my sister had a boyfriend for 20 years waiting to get married. Her boyfriend proposed a couple of months after I got engaged. Wow, 20 years. That's amazing. Well, then, hey, she must have really loved them, right? Or loved him, right? They had a really great bond. And I don't, but that's, hey, I think that's awesome. Obviously, there's, I'm speaking generally when I say that, obviously, but that's great. That's awesome. It's a long time. David Lee Barron says, if you were to interview Kubrick, what kind of questions would you have for him? How about Scorsese? I don't know. I would probably just want to know more about I don't know. You know, I don't have any specific ideas of what I would ask them. Probably just, I would have to look at their filmography, and then I would want, like with Kubrick, I would definitely want to know more about 2001. You know, I'd want to know more about sort of his thought process in telling a story like that, and sort of this. I'd want to kind of ask him about some of the symbolism in a lot of his movies, because Kubrick was very, you know, very much about that, right? Very much. I mean, his films were very. He used symbolism, cinematic language, and the layers of a lot of his movies. Now, obviously, over the years, have cinephiles overthought his movies? Yeah, for sure. There are people out there that think he's like, you know, one step away from fucking Jesus or something. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or some deity, you know, where he's like, you know, yes, you can overthink, and it's like it's like the people that look. Even Halloween, you know, or horror movies, people getting into it in layers and this kind of stuff. And listen, I've done it with Halloween, but I've always tried to keep it like legit stuff that makes sense. There's some people you read that do think pieces on Kubrick or movies and stuff, and you're like, what the fuck? And they're drawing all sorts of conclusions. It's like, I don't think it's that deep. Like at the end of the day, it's this meets this. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? But Kubrick, because he was a very smart guy, and he did use symbolism a lot in his movies. And there's probably a lot of shit that I haven't caught. I would just want to know more about him as a storyteller, and sort of how he approaches stories, and you know, the choices he makes of what to show to the audience and what to hint for the, like all that kind of stuff. Just really kind of deep layered shit that I just want to talk to him about. Scorsese would be the same thing. Like, I don't really have a specific question. What was it like to, it's not that kind of stuff. You know, what was it like to work with? You know, my questions, excuse me, would come more from a place of the creative process, really, at the end of the day, I think. Yeah. It's a good question, though. Pumpkinhead, you got a new movie coming out, Pumpkinhead. I think, anyway. Aren't they making a new Pumpkinhead movie? Or has that been in like development hell for like years and years or something? I thought they were doing a new Pumpkinhead movie. Maybe I'm wrong. Hi, Dave. Do you think the line in Halloween Kills by Little John, "Michael, you've come," might be iconic? The scene to me was creepy as he turns around. Might be iconic? I don't think so. Because I don't think the movie is very good. Now, that doesn't mean you cannot have lines in certain movies that you wish were in other movies. I don't think so. Him saying, "Michael, you've come." Actually, I'll be honest with you. Him saying, this is just me, him saying, "Michael, you've come," I thought was actually kind of silly. I thought, I'm going to be honest with you, Big John, Little John, I thought the two that, what they were given, the part that they played, the purpose of their existence in terms of the little bit of humor, the back and forth, the cute little dynamic between the two, I thought was very well done. I thought they executed the intention of what this dynamic was supposed to be perfectly. I just didn't like it. I didn't think Big John and Little John needed to be there. But again, I'm one of those people. Don't take me as the gospel. I'm one of those people that I like things to be more serious. I don't mind comedic relief, like a little line here or there, whatever. It's fine. But Big John, Little John seemed to me just a little cheesy, you know. And I although I did laugh, you know, there's a couple of times. Especially when Little John, I think it's Little John, he's the bigger guy, right? Because that's the ironic sort of thing. When he walked past the mirror and he's like, oh, you know. But I also think it's because there was a little bit of flamboyantness to them. Obviously, they're gay. And we know that, you know, there are some people who are gay who sound like like me, and you would never know. Like, hey, what's going on, right? And then there are some who are a little more flamboyant or, the stereotype per se, right? They kind of split the difference, I think, especially Little John, I think, kind of had a bit of that. So when he went, it was just kind of, it was just funny the way he did it, I don't dislike the characters, but I got to be honest with you, they just didn't work for me. Overall, it just didn't work for me. I probably would have just had the house abandoned or just played it sort of straight, like not played into their, into the stereotype a little bit, that's just me. And it has nothing, and I gotta say this, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're gay. So before anybody makes some moronic comment about how Dave just didn't like them because they were gay. No, it has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about the characters themselves. Overall, it just didn't work for me, the dynamic of what they were trying to do. But there were certain moments where I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's because I might take this too seriously. I'm one of those guys that I'm very serious about this, right? You know what I mean? And so I just wasn't feeling it overall. So that line when he says, Michael, you've come home, I just kind of thought, no, you'd probably fucking scream and yell and run out your door. Like you wouldn't stand there, and you wouldn't stand there. You would run, right, or something or whatever. But again, that's me probably overthinking it, taking it seriously, and so, I don't know. But hey, you know what? If it worked for you, it worked for you. It totally worked for you, and there ain't nothing wrong with that, man. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Arnold sends in $1.99 and says, you're a Blumhouse shill. I am actually a Blumhouse shill. I have, hang on a sec here. I have the most recent check they sent me. Let me see here. It says, it's right here. $3,725,621.86. Fuck! That should have been 87 cents. God! Come on, Blum! This is not the first time he's done this. He's jipping me. I'm telling you, it may not seem like a big deal, but I'm telling you, the cents add up. Oh, sure, it's 1 cent now. Then it's 2 cents next month. Then it's 10 cents, 3 months from now. And then before you know it, they owe me $50,000. I'm telling you, I'm sick of this. Jason, if you're watching, come on, man, get this down. I got to keep the shill going. Fucking piece of shit. Anyway, let's go on here. Let me see. Red Foreman sends in $5 and says, what direction would you like the next Star Wars trilogy to explore? I don't know. That's a good question, man. I'm not really sure. I will tell you this. If they keep it within, and I realize I'm in the minority on this, totally in the minority on this, but if they keep it within this universe, like the Skywalker kind of, I want to go forward. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go back. Stop going back. Go forwards. I don't care. Tell the story. Fast forward 200 years into the future. Whatever. Or go to the other side of the universe. There's lots of crazy shit going on. Maybe there's a villain we've never heard of that's even crazier than Darth Vader. Maybe there's another emperor somewhere else in the universe at the other end. I don't know. I mean, I know he's like I don't know, like something that isn't really connected, but is definitely Star Wars. And I know that's difficult to do because there's a DNA there, but I know some people have said, oh, go back to the Knights of the Old Republic. That's going back again. And I don't know. I know. I sound like such a party pooper. I have mixed feelings on the sequel trilogy because obviously I really like The Force Awakens. I think The Last Jedi is just not, And The Rise of Skywalker, I'm in the middle because I agree with those. I find it so funny that there are people that seem to hate The Rise of Skywalker more than The Last Jedi. And I guess I can understand it from a certain point of view, but you have Rian Johnson to blame for that. And you can go back. I have the receipts. Go back to, October, November of 2019. And listen to what I'm saying. I warned everybody, it ain't going to be the movie you want, because it can't be, because the middle chapter fucked it up. It can only be like, in order for us to get things back on track, they would have had to have done episode 9 and then episode 10 to draw it out a bit more to create a bigger story. You're not going to wrap up or fix or annul or kind of, you know, what Rian Johnson did in 1 2-hour film. You're just not going to do it. So if The Rise of Skywalker feels like several movies in one, because it is. If it feels like it's a bunch of missed opportunities kind of here or there, well, yeah. If it feels rushed and shoehorned in with Palpatine, well, yeah. You know, in order to draw that out, they would have had to have, you know, made a couple more movies. And then it would have felt more organic and not so kind of shoehorned in. But because J.J. Abrams, I think, is a better filmmaker in the sense of that populist popcorn, you know, kind of Star Wars-y kind of thing, I think The Rise of Skywalker is a better movie from that perspective. It's more entertaining, it's better paced, it's more Star Wars than The Last Jedi was. So I enjoyed it. And I walked away going, yeah, you know, and there's things in there that I really like. But yes, there are things where I'm like, you know, but there's only so much they can do. And even John Boyega came out early on and said, don't blame fucking JJ. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, don't blame him. He came back to fix shit, and there's only so much he could fix. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. And if you like The Last Jedi and you hate The Rise of Skywalker, like if it's reversed, that's cool too. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. So I actually really like those characters, and it's too bad that they did kind of the whole thing, because John Boyega's a great actor. You know, Daisy Ridley's really good, and what's his face? Oscar Isaac is a great actor. It's too bad it wasn't planned out better, because in my heart, I would love to see those characters and those actors playing those characters again. Like, I would really like to see that, you know, where they are 10 years from now or whatever, right? And maybe there's a new threat in the galaxy and Rey has started, you know, whatever. Yeah, totally. But maybe it's best we go to the other side of the universe and see what's going on over there. I don't know. And maybe, who knows, maybe 20 years from now, there'll be movies that make the sequel trilogy look even better. And people will be loving Rey again like they love Hayden again. I don't know. And I know there's some of you out there that have loved Hayden all along, but if you're old enough to remember, I'm telling you, the prequel trilogy, if social media had existed when the prequel trilogy came out, ooh boy. All right, let me go back. I don't want to miss these here. Johnny T says, hey Dave, rather than remakes and sequels, do you think Halloween could be a success in the future using Myers and standalone anthology type movies? Well, but using Myers in anthology type movies? What's the story though? Right? Like, is it Myers killing people? Slashing his way through? Then those are just sequels, right? Like, an anthology movie is a movie that is not connected, generally speaking. I mean, you can take creative liberties, but generally it's not a film that is, or a story that is connected to the other films in it. So how would you use, I guess my first question would be, how do you plan on using Myers? And then that might lead us down a path to figure out whether or not it would work or not. Eddie Chase sends in $10 and says, what ticked me off with Kills was stupid decisions. Big John, Little John not calling cops. Militia not finishing when they were beating up Mike. Lonnie not calling back up Myers' house on purpose. Well, I mean, look, it's a slasher movie. You know, at the end of the day, it's a slasher movie. You know, and, you know, there's just certain things in movies that you just have to let go. You know, it's a horror movie. It's a slasher movie. You know, it's like, you know, it's like when people said, hey, so in my own movie, right? It's Me, Billy. Sam's walking around the house without turning the lights on. And some people are like, you should turn the lights on. Now, to be fair, somebody said, well, you know what? You could have had her try to turn the lights on and the lights didn't work. And therefore, then it makes it makes sense. Why shouldn't I turn the lights? And that's a fair critique. As the co-writer and the co-director of the movie, I can say, yeah, no, I can see that. That's fair. That's fair. But at the end of the day, it's a horror movie. And Billy sits on a shelf next to a lot of pretty awesome horror movies where characters don't turn on the lights. It's just, sometimes you just got to go, Now, to be fair also, Sam, it's her grandmother's house. She knows the house well. She gets up. How many times have we gotten up in our own home to walk down the hall to the bathroom, not turn on the light, or to walk downstairs to get something from the fridge, not turn on the light, whatever the case is, right? We have to remember too that the characters don't know they're in a horror movie until they're in a horror movie. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just adding my little cent there. It's not a little cent. But there's certain things in horror movies, in slasher movies, in any movie, sometimes you kind of got to go, well, it's a movie, right? It's a movie. Does it ruin the movie? No. Does it take me out of the movie? Hopefully not. So I would say that there are certain things yes, there are certain things about Halloween Kills that bother me, but it's really more from a structure point of view. It's more, it has more to do with pacing and some of the acting I found a little wonky. I thought The Evil Dies Tonight was just oversold, but it's more about structure and pacing and story and that kind of stuff is really what my issues are with the movie. But when we see Halloween Ends, it's entirely possible that it might make me appreciate Halloween Kills even more. I mean, certainly but the problem is it because Halloween Ends is really good and it makes Halloween Kills even better? Or is it because Halloween Ends is really good or it's really bad and makes Halloween Kills seem that much better? You don't really know, right? But there's certain, for example, Lonnie not calling back up at the Myers house. That I didn't even think about that. And I'm not saying you're doing this, okay, Eddie? I'm not saying you are, but I have noticed there are fans out there. Again, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying there are fans out there that, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a generational thing, that need everything to make, they can't fill in gaps anywhere. Now, sometimes there are things that do not make sense, right? There are decisions that characters make that may not make sense. Sometimes that happens, but there wasn't any glare. And sometimes you go, oh, I wonder why they didn't. Oh, okay, whatever. But if it doesn't ruin the movie, it doesn't, for whatever reason, that's fine. Usually it's got to be something really massive, like glaring error where you're like, whoa, wait a minute, nobody would, whatever the case is, right? But a lot of the things you're talking about there, I didn't think of. I was like, it is what it is. I didn't think much about it. Again, I'm not saying you're doing that, but there are fans out there that need everything explained, need all the gaps filled in, need everything to make 100% sense. They can't sort of project their own assumptions onto certain little things. And the reason why I say maybe it's a generational thing, and I don't mean to sound condescending when I say that, but I say that because, when we were growing up through the 80s and through the 90s, there's lots of movies you can go back and watch now, and we didn't even think of that. It just is what it is, unless it was really glaring, really glaring. So I don't know, maybe I'm not saying you're like that, but the things you talk about here, other than the Big John, Little John, sort of as two characters that felt kind of out of place for me, the other stuff you mentioned didn't really bother me. I didn't think of that. It's more about story and structure and pacing for me. Okay, got that. Frank Riker, my man. Frank Riker sends in $5. Thank you, Frank. And says, Dave, if they made Jaws 2 with Quint alive and Brody and Hooper being dead, how would you like to see his character develop in the sequel? Oh, that's really interesting. That's really interesting, Frank. How would I like to see? Ooh, I don't know. You know what? Maybe go back to sort of the I think it would be a very different movie. Because obviously the motivation for Chief Brody to go out and save the sailors is, yes, he's not the chief. He's been fired, but he's still, he was just fired. His two sons are out there. Would Chief Brody have gone by himself out there if Mike and Sean were not out there? I don't know. I mean, and that's not because he doesn't care about the other kids or he doesn't want, or, he wants the kids to die or something like that. No, but this really is about a father going after his two sons. That really is that's what's motivating him to go. Had his kids not been out there, he might have just referred to, Hicks or the guy that became the chief, referred to him and, maybe talked, about advice or, whatever the case is, but not gone himself. So I think it would have been, so if Chief Brody was dead, maybe you could argue that Quint steps in and goes after Brody's kids because he feels he owes Brody something and he's doing it like a symbolic thing or whatever. And, he's become Uncle Quint to the kids or so. I don't know. But maybe you take a step back and you sort of do kind of like what the original idea for Jaws 2 was, right? It was a more gloomy kind of story about how, the tourism was like, the shops were closed or something. The tourism was down and nobody was celebrating. It was almost like that original idea for Halloween 4. Like in some respects, there's some parallels there. And maybe Quint is like this old guy who, and maybe you fast forward like, I guess it could be the same amount of time. And he's this old guy who still lives on the island and, shit begins to happen and they don't know who to turn to. But there's this couple or these group of kids that maybe need to seek out this old guy who lives further inland on the island and in a big home somewhere. And maybe Clint has become a recluse because of the events of what happened. And that would be interesting because he's the shark guy, right? He's the shark guy. He knows everything. He's Mr. Cool, calm, cool, and collected. He's got a big ego but something about seeing Brody and Hooper die changed him. And he's he's not the same man he was. He's a much more somber guy, humbled. He's much more humbled because he had never seen anything like that. That size of a shark, the shit he went through, all that kind of stuff. And maybe people got to seek him out to get him to help out with the shit that's going on or, whatever. And he doesn't want to do it. But then maybe what draws him back into the fold are Sean and Michael, perhaps, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case is. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe something like that. That might be interesting. That might be a good starting point anyway, to kind of maybe noodle that around a bit and see maybe if anything comes from that. I don't know. Might be interesting. All right. I think I got all the super chats. I think anyway. Let me see here. Evil monsterism. I think I'm saying that right. Hey, Dave, have you seen 247 Degrees? It's about people trapped in a sauna. 247 Degrees. It's about people trapped in a sauna. And would you watch a Rob Zombie remake of Insidious? I have not seen 247 Degrees, and sure, why not? I'll watch a remake of Insidious by Rob Zombie and see all the redneck lowlifes that are that he makes. I don't know. That'd be kind of funny. A Rob Zombie remake of Insidious. That would be so funny. That'd be so funny. Dub says, and yet again, I go on break and the legend is live. The legend. Is Elvis alive? Thanks for calling me a legend. I don't think I deserve that title, but thank you. Dave, fun fact, my first movie in the theater was Freddy vs. Jason when I was 3 years old. So I love that movie for nostalgia reasons. Well, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So you were 3 in 2003 or so what are you right now? You're 20, well, no, what would you be if you were 3, 13, 20, 24, 22, 3, 4? You're somewhere in there. Look, nostalgia is huge. You know, nostalgia can sometimes be rose-colored glasses, man. And I'm not immune to it either. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I love that is clearly for nostalgia. Now, there's a lot of things. Thank goodness the 80s did have a lot of great movies. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some movies that are not so good. But, you know, whether it's Back to the Future or Poltergeist or Who Framed Roger Rabbit or E.T. or, you know, Gremlins or Elm Street, you know, thank goodness a lot of the movies that I'm nostalgia for, The Goonies. Well, I know Darren's not a big fan of The Goonies, but, you know, generally speaking, a lot of these movies are really good and still hold up today. But there have been some movies I've watched from that time, and I'm like, I don't like this movie as much as I remember liking it. Nostalgia is a big thing, but that makes sense, right? If that was the first movie you ever saw in the theater, I mean, you probably barely remember it. You were 3 years old. You probably barely remember it. But it holds a special place in your heart because it was the first movie you saw in the movie theater. I don't know what the first movie was I saw in the movie theater. I think, and I spoke to my sister Jill just a couple of weeks ago. Damn it, I forgot to ask her. I think my first movie was with her, my older sister Jill, who took me to see a re-release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in the early 80s. That would have been like 82, 83, whatever it was, somewhere around there. For whatever reason, I was 3 years old when E.T. came out, but I don't think I went to see E.T. in the theater. And even if I did, I wouldn't have remembered it. I think my first movie was Snow White, a re-release of it in 81 or 2 or something. And my sister took me to see it, and I barely remember it. Like, I vaguely remember seeing Snow White on the screen, like barely. I mean, it could be a false memory, totally. But I'm pretty sure we did. The movies I remember, I actually physically remember, and I think it was because it was the drive-in. I saw Back to the Future and Gremlins at the drive-in when they first came out, which was really cool. That's cool, man. That's really cool. Freddy versus Jason. Freddy versus Jason. Nate A sends in... Wait a minute. I just see Frank here say, anytime Darren hates any movie by a director, the director dies oddly. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did somebody just recently pass away? Is that true? Uh-oh. I sense some ball busting going on between Frank and Darren here. Nate A sends in $5, says, Dave, since you have inside information about Halloween especially regarding ends, have you heard of the leaks spoilers that are supposedly out? Well, first, let me say this. I am fortunate enough to know certain people connected to the Halloween thingy things going on, and or people who work in the industry, who work in certain positions that I'm able to retrieve certain information about. But Halloween Ends is not a movie that I know nearly as much about like I did Halloween Kills. So Halloween Kills was loose lips kind of situation. Everybody, I mean, it was out there, and I'm not the only one. Okay. But Halloween Kills was something that a lot of people were talking about, you know, but to be fair, there's, you know, how I operate is, you know, I only share information when I am told to share, not told, when I'm given the okay to do so. I'm not a scooper. I'm not a news outlet. The last thing I want to do is burn any bridges with people that I have established a certain level of trust with. And as somebody who works in the entertainment industry myself, and, you know, I take those things very seriously. I'm not in this game for clicks or views or hearts or likes. I couldn't care less about that. But when I do get certain information that I'm allowed to share, like the release date of the Halloween Ends teaser, I do that, and I get excited about it because I get excited to share that with you. But I am not somebody that is the Halloween whisperer, and all of a sudden I know everything there is to know. Halloween, I know a few little things about Halloween Ends, a few little things that I've chosen not to talk about on the channel because they would be spoilery. But there are also things that haven't been 100% confirmed either. So, but the point I'm making is that I just wanted to make sure people know that I don't know as much about ends as I did about kills. And the reason for that is largely because I haven't been asking and my sources have not been speaking. They because I think that all around, from top to bottom, it's just a tighter ship. People are just not speaking, right? Maybe there's been some more NDAs that have been signed. Maybe there's been a little more backlash because of what happened to Kills, and because of the sort of the playing their cards close to the vest, like they had been through the marketing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, listen, we're essentially less than 2 months away, and we don't really know anything about this movie. I mean, the rumors are out there, but I mean, like, through marketing, teasers, trailers, we still don't know that much. So the studio is playing it very close to the vest, and I have no reason to think that they're not going to continue to play it close to the vest for as long as they can. Now, there's no doubt we're going to get another trailer, and I'm very curious to see what that reveals, or whether they continue to play it close to the vest. I have no idea. But the leaks and the spoilers that are out there, I assume they are the things that I've already talked about. I haven't heard anything new or any new information come to light. So I'm assuming you mean the stuff in regards to Corey Cunningham and the, having all the fingers on the hand and the teaser and what does that mean in the ring and, the copycat killers and all that. I'm assuming you mean that because I haven't heard anything else beyond that. That I've talked about on the videos that were released after the teaser came out. So you can go back on my channel and look at sort of what I uploaded right after the teaser came out. And I go into it, I talk about it, we dissect it. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Because beyond that, I don't know anything. I haven't, you know what I mean? I haven't. And to be honest with you, like I've said, I'm really enjoying not knowing a lot. I grew up in a time where there was no social media. There was no internet. We weren't getting all this information at our fingertips. We knew what the story was about when we saw the first teaser or when we went to the movie. We'd read the synopsis and go, I want to see that because so-and-so's in it, or, whatever the case is. I'm really enjoying this quasi 90s feel to this marketing campaign. It's kind of nice, to be honest with you. I know it's probably fucking annoying the hell out of some of you guys that maybe are not used to that, but I don't mind not having all the information already. I'm quite okay with that. So yeah, that's what I'm assuming you're talking about. Thanks for the super chat, Nate. Appreciate it. Matthew Ferreira sends in $1.99 and says, underrated. Underrated. Here you go. You first said Freddy in Freddy vs. Jason is underaged, in my opinion. I love that. Underaged. But you meant underrated, but you said underaged. But hey, maybe he is underaged. I need to be a little more raged. Is underrated. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not a fan of the movie. I'm not a fan of crossovers to begin with. I mean, I can have fun with it. It's not boring. You can watch it. It's entertaining. But by that point, what Jason and Freddy were, they're shells. I mean, they're characters of themselves. They're cartoon characters by this point. And it just doesn't do anything for me. Like I saw Freddy versus Jason. I watched it with Tony on Two Dudes. And I think that was the first time I'd seen the movie in 20 years. Well, not 20, because I think it came out in like 18 years or something like that. It's not like it's fun, and I can watch it from that perspective. Oh, it's just a popcorn kind of fun movie. That's fine. But they're just silly Looney Tunes characters. in that film. And so it just doesn't really do much for me. I much prefer Freddy Scary, you know, when they take these things seriously. By the time you get to like the later episodes and, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just, they're shells of themselves. But I'm glad you love it, though, dude. That's awesome, because a lot of people do. Eddie Chase sends in $10. Thank you, Eddie, and says, the things that ticked me off, which you've answered, were not things that ruined it for me. Kills isn't my favorite. Love certain scenes, but as a whole, left me disappointed. Yeah, well, listen, there's a lot of people that don't see it from my perspective, right? There's a lot of people where the pacing didn't bother them, the structure didn't bother them. You know, I think for somebody like me, and maybe others like myself, because I'm a filmmaker, because I have a very good grasp at the filmmaking process and how films are made and things like that, there's certain, and it's not that I can't watch a movie and enjoy the movie for what it is. I can. It's all happening at the same time. It's like a computer, right? You know, my brain is enjoying the film as a movie and watching it completely subjectively as if I was just a fan. But when certain things pop up, because of how my brain works, I will notice things and I will be like, well, that doesn't, well, hang on, no, that you can't, you know what I mean? But that's not everybody, right? Not everybody's like that. So for me, there was just certain things about the structure and the pacing that stood out to me, glaringly, and just didn't work for me. You know, the kills were great. And if that's what you came for, and a lot of people did, well, then you won't be disappointed. But as a movie as a whole, the whole hospital scenes and the chase in the hospital I think 18 is better. I think 18 is better paced. I think the structure is better. The script is better. I just think it's a better overall film. Whereas Kills, not so much. The flashback I thought was great. I thought the flashback was great. Yeah, really good. And there's certain things in there I like, for sure. But overall, I think it's a step down from where we were in 18. So I'll be very curious and am curious to see where we, you know, hopefully we can step back up with Halloween Ends. Because if we step further down, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things. But yeah, but you're not the only one, man. You know, a lot of people were disappointed, for sure. Eddie Chase, $5 says, with each watch, I guess I recall things that could have made the film better. I'm born in the 80s and don't need everything explained. All love. Oh, of course. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's awesome, right? That's awesome. Yeah, no, there's some people that do, there's some people that don't. You know, it's just, it depends on the individual, right? It depends on the individual, but everybody's going to experience things differently, right? So there are things that worked for you that maybe bothered you that didn't bother me, right? And then there are things that bothered me that didn't bother you, right? And that's just because of how our brains operate and sort of what we pick up on and maybe where our focus is, right? But some of the things that you mentioned, yeah, it didn't bother me, right? And then some of the things I mentioned, you're like, yeah, no, it didn't bother me. But we agree. We're like, we just didn't like the movie. We just didn't like the movie. It's kind of funny. It's what makes the world go round, folks. Thank you, Eddie, for the super chats. Really appreciate that, buddy. Let me see here. William Goldschmidt says, hey, Dave, I watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Taking your suggestion a while back. Incredible. Thanks, man. Huh? So I'm talking about great movie. One of my favorites for sure. The last time I was in Los Angeles in 2019, my lady and I, my better half, we went over to the Baby Jane house. Now, I think the interiors were a soundstage, but we went over to, over to Betty Davis's character's house. And, or was it, wait a minute, who was living in the house? It was Joan Crawford, I think, was living in the house, right? God, I forget now. Why am I'm blank? Anyway, to the house. And really cool. Had her picture taken in front of it. It was really awesome. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. But you are, Blanche. You are in the chair. That's like a famous line from the movie. It's so good. It's so good. And see, what makes it so compelling to watch, too, is because Joan Crawford and Betty Davis didn't like each other. Like, if you look up Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, it's one of the most famous feuds in Hollywood history. They did not like each other. Now, depending on who you read or who you're talking to, some people say maybe the feud was a little over-exaggerated. But Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, I mean, they didn't have very nice things to say to each other. Even right up until, I think Joan Crawford died before Bette Davis, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that they were working together on this movie, which was later in their careers, it was 60? Hey, Google, what year did Whatever Happened to Baby Jane come out?
In the United States of America, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was released on October 31st, 1962.
Yeah, 1962. So they were already well established. I mean, through the 50s, the 40s, I mean, they were well established actresses at this time, and they had never worked together. And I don't think anyway. And for them to be working on this film, it was like, what? So you can't help but the fact that they are feuding in the movie and they don't really like each other in the movie, it kind of, you kind of see a lot of their, I don't know, it's just, it brings a whole other dynamic to the film. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just brings a whole other dynamic to the movie. It'd be like, it'd be like watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, knowing that Harrison Ford and Karen Allen hated each other. I mean, that's different because in the movie, that's a bad example, because in the movie they have to actually like make out and pretend they love each other. But I just mean that when you know two actors don't like each other and they're in a movie together, it just makes it, from a sociological perspective, it makes it really interesting to watch the film, because they're pretending to, but the hate that the hate they had, man, was real, very real. But the movie's great. I'm so glad you liked it. Another one I think you'd like is, that has Bette Davis in it as well, as All About Eve. All About Eve, E-V-E, All About Eve. That's a good one. Sunset Boulevard is really good. If you want to check out that one too, that's a good old film. Yeah, there's a lot of great ones, but that's one of my favorites for sure. I want to watch that again, actually. I need to watch that again. Okay, where am I here? We got Evan Heathcock sends in $10. Thank you, Evan. Says, hey, Dave, big fan. Found your channel in prep for Halloween 18. Been following since. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Just wanted to get your thoughts on the OG First Blood. Grew up watching it with my brothers on TV. One of my faves. Oh, I mean, come on, man. It's Rambo. It's Sylvester Stallone. It's the movie. It's like how Harrison Ford had Star Wars and then had Empire, and then did Indiana Jones, right? You had Sylvester Stallone, who did Rocky and then Rocky 2. I think he even did Rocky 3. I think he had done 3 Rockies before he did Rambo. But it's the same in the sense of it's that he found another sort of character that would embed itself into the pop culture zeitgeist. I mean, it's incredible. I really like that movie a lot. I like the Rambo. Well, Rambo from 2008 is great. It's great. But that first Rambo, yeah, Sylvester Stallone plays those kinds of characters really well. There's an authenticity that Sylvester Stallone brings. There's a natural, he exudes this believable performance whenever he plays the down and out, everybody's against me, rising up redemption, taking matters into his own hands. He plays that character so well because he was that character. If you know the story of Sylvester Stallone, you know that where he came from and how poor he was and how he just went out on a limb and he wrote this script called he held out, and he was even offered something like $200,000 or something like that for that screenplay, something like that. He said, no, I have to do this. So especially when it comes to Rocky and Rambo, they are on some level. I mean, obviously he's not a boxer and he's not a former, Marine or Army guy, whatever he was, who fought in Vietnam, who suffers from massive PTSD. Obviously that's not Sylvester Stallone, but the principles of those characters and sort of that underdog. It's the underdog story because John Rambo was an underdog. He was essentially, right? Rocky, massive underdog. That is Sylvester Stallone. That's why he can write those scripts and write dialogue like, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's about how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I mean, that, we all, why do we love that? Because we can relate. He wrote that. And not that it's Shakespeare, but I just mean it comes from the heart. It comes from Sylvester Stallone's experience. So when we watch those movies, we really believe him in his performance and the way he sang those lines, whether it's Rocky or Rambo or whatever the case is, we believe it. Now, he didn't write First Blood, obviously. It's based on a book, but he was the perfect guy to play that character because he does come from that upbringing, right? That, he's got the slurred speech. He was paralyzed at birth. Nobody said he was going to be anything. Who's this guy that looks funny, sounds funny, and he's not a tall guy either. I think it might even be my height, 5'8". He's not very tall at all. And of course, for a leading man, you always think of them as dashing 6 foot, all that kind of stuff. So he had that going against him as well. He's very used to playing those types of characters. So the point I'm making is that you see that in Rambo. You see that authenticity in that performance come out. So yeah, I love that character, and First Blood is a classic. I think I like them in order, but I think I would probably go one genre, probably First Blood, then Rambo from 2008, then 2, then 3 maybe is that may be my order. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, man, I like it. Classic film for sure. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, yes, he did the first Rocky movie, the first 3 Rocky movies before First Blood. That's what I thought. Let me see here. Did I get all the super chats? I believe I've got them all, if I'm not mistaken. I think I have. Okay. 1 second here. Okay. Okay. Nope, we're good. Let me see. Neil Rook says, hey, Dave, I should say. Last week I had a voiceover session at Stanley Kubrick's old house here in England. Amazing. And the sound engineer is his grandson. It was really cool. Dude, that is amazing. That's amazing. You had a voiceover session in Stanley Kubrick's old house with his grandson as the audio engineer. Yeah. Dude, I mean, come on. That is amazeballs. Like that's, I'm dead. That's really cool, dude. That's really cool. Really cool. Really cool. Nate A sends in $5, says, I've been watching your streams through high school and now I'm entering college soon. You've been insightful and helpful. I'll try to still tune in. You've kind of grown up with me. That's so weird. That's so weird and surreal, but awesome at the same time. Weird and surreal, but awesome at the same time. Thanks, man. Very cool. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. I mean, I've been doing this, I've been doing this thing, like being on here talking about movies, horror movies, Halloween, all that kind of stuff, since 2017. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. And I mean, if you were, let's say you were 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're 18 now, or even if you were 14, you're 19 now, about to head to college. Yeah. I mean, you've essentially grown up with me through probably the most important years of your life. It's crazy. Pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed, ladies and germs. Aaron Click says, Dave, what movies have you never seen that you think would surprise most people? Oh, that's a good one. Movies I've never seen. Well, I think I've said this before, but it's no surprise. And again, it's not because I don't think I would like them. It's just I don't have the natural built-in interest to make time for them. That's, the real issue. The Marvel films, I think I've only seen... Okay, so I've seen Iron Man. I've seen Iron Man 2. I've seen Spider-Man Homecoming. I've seen the 2 Deadpool movies, although I know they're not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think I feel like there's one more. But like, that's it. I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen them. Haven't seen Justice League. Didn't see the Snyder Cut. Yeah, haven't seen, I'm going to the big popular movies right now because I think they would probably be the most surprising because they're so popular and everybody sees them. I still, although these are movies I am going to see, I still haven't seen The Black Phone. I have to see that. I still haven't seen The Batman. I have to see that. I did see X and I liked X. I liked it, but I thought it was a little overhyped. I liked it. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I was expecting something else. I'm not sure, but I thought it was fine. I liked it. I did see that. What other movies have I not seen that might surprise people? Like horror movie. Well, I haven't seen Hellraiser 2. Haven't seen Hellraiser 3. I've just seen the first Hellraiser. Haven't seen anything after Child's Play 3. Just because it just got weird. What else? I don't know. There's some right there though. There's lots more. I mean, we all have movies that a lot of people have seen or TV shows that a lot of people have seen that we haven't. And it's like, what the fuck? You haven't? Like, I guarantee you, and you know this because you've been following me, but I guarantee you when I say I've never seen one episode of Breaking Bad or The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, a lot of people would go, what? Not one episode. Not even a snippet. I mean, I know what they are because they're in the pop culture, right? But I haven't sat down and watched an episode. And to be honest with you, up until I was with my better half, I hadn't seen an episode of The Simpsons either. Now, she was a Simpsons fan growing up. I'm a Family Guy fan. I love Family Guy. It's so absurd, so it is. But The Simpsons, I never got into The Simpsons. Now I've seen probably about maybe, a dozen episodes now because I've watched them with her, and I like them a lot. I think they're funny. They're fun. I think I appreciate them more now than I think I would have when I was younger. But The Simpsons is one that I didn't see an episode of The Simpsons till maybe 5 years ago. I mean, like a full episode from start to finish. Obviously, I've seen clips. I know about the, Eat My Shorts and, because it's in the pop culture zeitgeist. I know about The Simpsons. I know all the references and I've seen little snippets. But I mean, like, sat down and watched a full episode from start. The Simpsons, from the start to The Simpsons. What the hell was that? But, the very beginning when you see the logo, the title to the end credits, start to finish. My first episode was maybe like 5 years ago. That might surprise a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on how old you are, I guess. Not sure. All right. What do we got here? We've got an hour and 42 minutes we've been going. Okay, let's take this thing to 2 hours and then we will call it a day. 2 hours and then we will call it a day. This is great. Love checking in with you guys and gals. What do we got here? We got Brooke Scarlett says the Black Phone is on Peacock now. Dave, you and Tony should do it too, dudes. Yeah, well, we don't get Peacock here in Canada. I know. So I might have to get a VPN and maybe, I don't know if Tony still has Peacock or not. But we might be able to make it work. Although I think the Black Phone is one of those movies, and I think Tony is on the same page. We kind of want to watch that movie first. Because it looks really good. It's not a movie I think I want to watch like half paying attention to and half doing the show and that kind of stuff. So we'll probably watch that first and then do a Two Dudes on it. I'm sure we'll do a Two Dudes on it. I'm sure we will. Oliver Mercer says, I love Game of Thrones myself. It's a thrilling, fantastic storytelling. That's what I hear. I hear it's really good. I think I have this thing about like Middle Earth kind of, well, hey, Here's one. I have not seen Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. There you go. I've seen The Fellowship of the Ring and I've seen The Two Towers, but I have not seen Return of the King. I'm not big on those Middle Earth kind of movies anyway. Like I've never been I've never really found them appealing anyway. It doesn't matter if it's Lord of the Rings or something called Coogly Doodly Boodly Doodly Doo. It doesn't matter. I've never really been, but I did watch Fellowship of the Ring years ago. Enjoyed it. I liked it. Watched The Two Towers. I think I like Fellowship of the Ring better, but I never got around to watching Return of the King. There you go. There's one there that I think will surprise a lot of people. I can hear people checking out now. What? You haven't seen Return of the King? Oh my God. Cameron Woodward sends in $5. Thanks, Cameron. Says, love you, Dave. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Thoughts on the Ryan Reynolds Clue movie? I love the original. Yes. Now there's a movie I have seen, but not in years. I don't really have a lot of thoughts because again, my month, especially this past week, has been so busy because Bruce got married and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on. I think when I was scrolling, I was on my phone and I was scrolling, I saw something about it, but I haven't read anything about it. I haven't looked into it. I don't really know. Is he a writer, a producer, a director? Is he helping to bring it to, I really don't know anything about this other than Ryan Reynolds' Clue remake. And I'm like, oh, okay, I could see him in a movie like that. Is he in the movie? Is he just spearheading it? I'm not sure. Certainly I could see him in a movie like that. He's, his style, his sense of humor is kind of made for that kind of stuff. But I haven't checked it out myself. In terms of the news that dropped about it. So I'm not entirely sure. Robert Thidov says, Dave, I spent my vacation last week in Iowa and Chicago. I saw the sights of Field of Dreams for one full day and also sights of The Fugitive, The Blues Brothers, and Ferris Bueller. It was awesome. Rob, that is really cool. That's really cool, man. When you were in Chicago, you should have gone to the Home Alone house. Did you go to the Home Alone house? Did you go to the Home Alone house? There's the Home Alone house is in a suburb of Chicago somewhere, I think, and also the Planes, Trains, and Automobile house. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but when I was younger, I used to think that the house at the end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is another John Hughes movie, when Steve Martin and John Candy are walking up to the house, I used to think that was the Home Alone house. It looks similar. It's got a similar architectural look to it, but it's not as wide. It's not as big, but it looks similar. And for years, I used to think that the Home Alone house was first used in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Nope. It's a different house. It's a different house. But they're both, I believe, in a suburb of Chicago. Maybe not too far from each other. I'm not sure. It totally looks like they could be in the same neighborhood. Because John Hughes, I believe he's a native of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, and used to film a lot of his movies there. A lot of his movies in that area. So but that's cool, man. Field of Dreams, The Fugitive, yep. The Blues Brothers, and Ferris Bueller. That's really awesome. It's always cool when you can, when you're on vacation or you're somewhere where there's some movies being filmed and, you go check it out. It's really cool. It's amazing how much has changed in a lot of those things too, Pumpkinhead sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. He says, Dave, what do you think about Tim Burton and his style of making movies? I've always found his style interesting. Thoughts on Nightmare Before Christmas? Nightmare Before Christmas, speaking of movies I haven't seen, I have seen that movie, but I think it's in bips and bobs. Like, I don't think I've actually watched it all the way through in one sitting. So I don't really have a feel on it. But The Nightmare Before Christmas is not a Tim Burton movie. For those of you that don't know, I don't believe it is. The Nightmare Before Christmas, maybe, hang on a second. Nightmare Before Christmas is not directed by Burton. It's directed by Henry Selick. The story is Tim Burton. So I guess he is involved, but he didn't direct it. So, but it is a story by him. But anyway, a lot of people think Tim Burton directed that movie and he didn't. But he was involved. I don't know. I actually quite enjoyed his movie Big Fish. I like that movie a lot, actually, from what I remember. Maybe I could watch it now and not like it. I don't know. I'm really digging the Wednesday trailer. Have you guys seen the Wednesday trailer? Like I said, Jenna Ortega is going to be a star, man. Now, I know some of you out there are like, yeah, that's old news. But when I did that watch along with Tony in January of Scream, I had no idea who Jenna Ortega was. So this is really organic. I had never seen her before. I mean, I saw her in the marketing for the film, but I didn't know who she was. No idea who Jenna Ortega was. And there was something about her performance in Scream. And I said live on my channel, I said, this girl's going to be a star. I said, there's something about her. I can't put my finger on it yet, but there's something about her. And I didn't even know at that time that she had been cast in X. And I think she was even in 666. And of course, Wednesday. And now, right now, she's in a lot of horror related stuff. But I totally could see her branching out of that. I know people want to tout her right now as a young and upcoming Scream Queen, and you would be right to put that label on her right now, just because of everything she's involved with. Scream 6, of course, or Scream, 6 as well. But I could totally see her venturing beyond that as well. I think she has a certain it factor that will transcend the horror genre as well. So yes, she gets her start in horror. A lot of people get their start in horror. But I don't think she's going to stay there. I could certainly see her venturing out of that for sure. She's talented, very talented and young. She's 19 for goodness sake. She's got so much ahead of her, but she looks like, again, I have no dog in this fight. Speaking of movies I haven't seen, I did not see The Addams Family in the early 90s. I did not see The Addams Family Values in the early 90s. Obviously, as a young teenager in the 90s, I grew up with it. I knew about them. I know who Christina Ricci is. I first saw her in Mermaids with Winona Ryder and Cher and Bob Hoskins. Remember that movie, Mermaids, in the, 1990 or something like that? That's where I first saw her. So I'm aware that she's Wednesday Addams. I'm aware that she is, for a certain generation, their Wednesday Addams, like how Robert is their Freddy Krueger, or whatever the case is. I get it. I understand it. But because I have no emotional attachment to her portrayal of Wednesday in those two movies, because I never saw them, I didn't really care. I just wasn't into it. I have no dog in the fight. So when I saw that teaser, or not a teaser, it's a trailer for Wednesday, I was like, Jenna Ortega is knocking this out of the park. Knowing what I know, which admittedly isn't a lot, but knowing what I do know about the Wednesday character, she nailed it, man. And she looks like her, and she's got that attitude, and she's got that, brilliant casting. Perfect casting. Now, that doesn't mean the show's going to be good. The show could be dog shit. The show could be ass. We could watch the first episode and go, watch the second one and go, okay. And then by like the end of the, I don't know how, 10 episode, be like, it was okay. I mean, that's entirely possible. But just purely by the character and the trailer, the way the trailer was cut, I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. Totally. That's a show I want to watch. It looks fun. It looks, I want to watch. It looks like a nice hybrid of old school with contemporary. Like, it just looks new, fresh kind of, but I don't know. Maybe because I'm older and maybe I can appreciate that style more now. I'm not sure, but I want to see it. So yeah, I think I answered your question. Did I answer your question? I think I did. My apologies if I didn't. What do we got? 7 more minutes to go. Jordanella sends in $9.99, says, just popping in to say hello. And I had the pleasure of meeting Dick Warlock yesterday. Very cool, my man. He was incredibly generous and kind. What an experience. Well, take care, Dave, and keep doing what you do. Thank you, Jordan, for the super chat, and thank you for sharing your experience. Yeah, Dick Warlock. That was a guy I did not get to meet at the 40th anniversary convention. I met a lot of people there. Dick Warlock was there, but I never got a chance to meet him because I always like to, it's not like I've had a lot of experience with this. At the 40th anniversary convention, I wanted to go up to people and talk to them for a few minutes and get it on camera. Not like a formal interview, but just kind of like, And it was hard. Certain people it was hard to do that with. Like Nick Castle, forget it. Now I've met Nick Castle. I met him in 2015 and I didn't get it on camera, but I was very fortunate that I arrived at Fan Expo here in Toronto early. And when I got to it, nobody was, like literally nobody was there. Like nobody was there. And I walked up to him and I shot the shit with him for like 20 minutes. Like 20 minutes. We stood there and then eventually a line started to form and I was like, okay, well, I gotta let other people, because obviously, and I got a photo and I paid for it and all that kind of stuff, signed photo and whatnot. But at the convention, it's Halloween, just Halloween, crazy Halloween shit. So Nick Castle, forget it. Forget it. James Jude Courtney, forget it. Not going to happen. You know what I mean? Dick Warlock, forget it. His line was like down here around the corner. Like there's never an opportunity where there's a lull and you could walk over and like chat with him for like a minute or two and just kind of, and I kind of like doing that. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to go up and just go, hi, nice to meet you, sign, okay, see ya. I don't know. It's just me. I don't know what it is. So if you watch some of my coverage of the 40th anniversary convention, the people I did get to speak to, whether it was Lance Guest or Leo Rossi or Pamela Shoop, I think Shoop, I think it is. Dean Cundy, Erwin Yablans. It was during lulls. It was like maybe they just got back from lunch or maybe there was like a panel that was going on and they were available. And I just kind of like, because then you get their undivided attention and they and you are not worried about, okay, you're taking up too much time here, buddy. There's like a whole line. Because I want to be cognitive of that, right? Like, I don't want to stand there for 5 minutes. Oh, it's so nice. When you, hello, we got a fucking line here. Come on. You know what I mean? So I always like to kind of dip in when there's that opportunity where there's nobody around and you can kind of, get a photo signed and kind of chat with them for a bit. And I would have loved to have met Dick Warlock, but there was never an opportunity. The line was so long, my God. And I think it's extra long now, because he's up there in age too. He's in his 80s. Who knows how long he's going to be doing this, because he kind of retired there for a bit as well. And then he came back to do some conventions. So, yeah, man, that's cool, dude. That's really cool. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. All right, 4 more minutes to go in the show. 4 more minutes to go in the show. Let me see here. Did I get all the super chats? Have I got all the super chats? I think I have, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've got all the super chats. At least I think I have. I don't think there's anything I've missed. I don't believe I've missed anything. Which is good. Okay, let me get some non-super chat ones here. Let's see here. Geeked Out Turtle Fan says, Dave, with the recent rumors about the Friday the 13th franchise getting another movie, do you think we're getting a Jason Friday the 13th film, or will they go in another direction? That's a good question, man. I don't know. I mean, because I believe the rights are still split, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, I mean, in terms of like, Victor has the rights to this and Sean has this, or I think that's how it works. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I got to say, I don't know. That's a good question. Your guess is as good as mine. Now, obviously, I think anybody who puts a movie forward, Jason's the brand, right? Jason's the face of the franchise. So he's got to be involved. It's just, what version of Jason are we going to get? Because one guy owns the hockey mask rights and another guy owns the other Jason. So what are we going to get here? Is it going to be some, I don't know. You would unless they just really fucking hate each other, you would think at that age, because they're up there too. You would think at that age, they'd be like, well, but you know what? It's not personal, man. It's not personal. It's business. And I'm not saying it's right. And they shouldn't just let bygones be bygones and get their fucking act together. Yeah, like you would think like, okay, come on. You know what I mean? But like we know that Victor Miller won, I think, and I think even the appeals that Cunningham put forward, I think, were either bashed down or Miller won or whatever it was. So Miller has won, but Miller only owns the rights to this thing. Like, you know what I mean? The first Friday, Jason in that movie, not the Jason that we know. But Does he own the rights to the name Jason? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. More in the know Friday the 13th fans than I am might be able to answer that. I'm not entirely sure because he might. You might not even be able to use Jason. I have no idea. Again, my month has been all over the place, guys. It's been such a busy month with weddings and events and functions. And I just, like, I know the news that's dropped, but I haven't had the time to dive into it yet. So you guys might know better than me. But I do know that, yeah, supposedly some Friday the 13th movie is in like early development for a release potentially next year or something. Some former producer said that or something. And then I saw that Cunningham had something like that on his cameo bio, but then I heard this morning that part of the cameo bio was removed or something, or fuck, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. No idea, folks. No idea. No idea, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we've hit the 2-hour mark. Let's leave it there for the day. I want to thank my moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber, for doing what you guys do. I really, really appreciate it. You know I do. And thank you to all the Super Chat questions that came in today and some of those non-Super Chat questions as well. Obviously, like I always say, Super Chat questions obviously take priority for obvious reasons. But do not fret. Do not fret. I am on here all the time. So feel free to send those questions in. And I am sure at some point I will get to answer them. Thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Monday. Stay safe out there. A reminder, there is no two dudes and some bullshit tonight. It's one of the reasons why I jumped on this afternoon to kind of fill that entertainment gap. But we will be back next Monday night at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So look out for that. Have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great week. And I will be back. And hey, if you want to follow me on social media, you can. There are my links: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. All right, that's going to do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.